This is part 3 of the FlexTech tutorial videos. In this video, we'll discuss diagnostics, how to enter diagnostic mode, diagnostic pages, and fault codes. We'll also go over troubleshooting, scenarios, and fixes for common questions. Diagnostic mode. The PRPC is the FlexTech Diagnostic Hub. All LED diagnostics and fault codes you'll find on this module. On the left-hand side of the board, press the red Test button to enter diagnostic mode. If you hold the button, the fuse LEDs will light up. These are processor-controlled LEDs. When the first LED is lit, that indicates that you're on page 1. When you release the button, it enters that page. Press the button again to proceed to the next page. The yellow status LED indicates the current diagnostic page or mode. If it flashes once, it's on page 1. If it flashes twice, it's on page 2, and so on. For each page, the LEDs will take on different meanings. When you go past the last page, the LED lights will turn off, indicating you've exited diagnostics. There can be up to 10 diagnostic pages. See intermotive instructions for more details for your exact vehicle. Let's discuss page 6, Switch Backer Board Input Status. This is a good way to confirm all relays are functioning properly. When we go to page 6, the module will bypass the program that's loaded into it, so whatever's wired into switch 1 will be directly connected to relay 1. We can easily troubleshoot the switches, the switch harness, the switch backer board, and the LIN. But we want to unplug the outputs so that we're not turning anything on. This will save a lot of time. Just turn your switches on and watch the lights come on. You'll know if everything is working correctly. So if there is a problem, it may be in the wiring after it leaves the module. Below the status LED, there's a fault LED, which indicates the current highest priority fault. Fault codes are 3 digits. Every low current output in the system has a unique code. In addition, there are fault codes for LIN communication. For normal operation, the LED will slowly flash 1, 1, 1, which means status OK. To determine what kind of issues you're having, pull the fault codes on the PRPC. After a full fault code flash out, the yellow status LED will flash to indicate which diagnostic page you're on. That marks the beginning and end of a fault code, which makes it easier to count those flashes on the fault codes. The fault count will repeat, allowing you time to count accurately. See instructions for a complete list of fault codes at intermotive.net/instructions. Troubleshooting FlexTech. The LIN harness is the backbone of the FlexTech system, used for all the modules to communicate with each other. The best way to troubleshoot is to start with the furthest module from the PRPC and work your way back to determine what's wrong. If you have a gateway system installed, the simplest way to verify that you are not having LIN issues is to check the gateway panel. As the last module in the LIN harnessing, if the gateway panel is operating and the LED lights are responding to commands, then you know everything is good. If the gateway panel LEDs are flashing in unison, about 1 per second, that indicates the panel is powered, but it has no LIN communication. If you know you're having a LIN issue with a specific module, in most cases, the issue is usually one of 2 things. 1. There's a physical problem with the harnessing, like a screw through the cable, or the fuse on the switch backer board module is blown, or 2, you're not getting power or ground to the module, and it's not responding to the PRPC. You can also use a meter to check the voltages on the LIN network. Start at the furthest point, away from the PRPC. Unplug the LIN harness and check the voltages at the LIN connector. Blue is the ground reference. Connect the black lead on the common side of the voltmeter to the blue wire and make sure the meter is set to DC volts. Measure the voltage across the blue wire to the red wire. It should read between 12 to 14 volts. Measure the voltage across the blue wire to the yellow wire. It should read approximately 5 volts. Measure the voltage across the blue wire to the white wire. It should read between 8.5 to 10.5 volts. The voltage is constantly changing, as it is a communication signal. Data link connector troubleshooting. The sign of a DLC harness issue is absolutely no system function. The PRPC gets its power through the DLC harness. Check all DLC connections and voltage. To check voltage, Turn the key to the run position and verify proper voltage starting at the DLC connector on the PRPC, the DLC-T harness, and then the DLC connector to the OBD2. The voltage across the red and gray wires will be battery voltage, approximately 12 to 14 volts. Also verify the chassis DLC fuse has not blown. If you're having any issues with the shift lock function not locking in park or not unlocking when it should, check the shift lock harness connections at the shift lock solenoid. The PRPC sends 12 volts to lock the shifter in park. PRPC troubleshooting. On the PRPC, checking the voltage on the red and the gray wires is one way to tell if your PRPC has power or if you're not getting any function. This brown wire right here is the input for the lift door open. This one is important to check if your interlock is not working correctly. Pin 10 on the input connector is always lift door open signal. When a ground is applied, you will see the door ajar light illuminate on the gateway status LED panel. When we turn on a load, the green light indicates that there's power at the relay. There's power at the fuse socket, which means there is power on this wire for the high current relay. Now, if we blow the fuse and we've got a short, you'll see the red light turns on. We still have the green light indicating that the relay has power and it's sending power out. The red light means the power is not going across the fuse. This is a quick and easy way to determine the issue. If there's no voltage on any of the relay outputs, then you may not be getting power to the battery power lug on the PRPC. Even if you have power at the data link connector at the bottom of the PRPC, you don't necessarily have power at the relays at the top. The high current power is coming from that lug and from the 2-pin connector at the top for ground. The PRPC's low current outputs are not physically fused. They're smart transistors, so they have self-protection. These are all rated at 0.5 amp. If there's a short on the output or the load current is too high, that output will shut off automatically. Once a fault is detected, that output stays off for at least 5 seconds, and then it will retry. If you unplug the load from the 8-pin connector on the lower left of the PRPC, then wait 5 seconds. That output should come back on. With the load unplugged, you can also check for power on the pins. Once you verify the output is functional, you'll know the issue is with the wiring, or you may have to reduce the LCO load. You can also use diagnostic mode to determine the issue. Page 1 will display LCO status. The last number in the 3-digit fault code tells you which LCO is having a problem. Switchbacker board troubleshooting. Switchbacker board LCOs are similar to those on the PRPC. They are smart transistors, not physically fused. Switchbacker board LCOs will automatically shut down if 0.5 amp is exceeded. All the inputs on the switchbacker board are 12 volts. When functioning properly, we have power coming out of these switches here and going into the switchbacker board, which sends the message through the LIN communication cable up to the PRPC to tell it to turn on that output. If we have a problem and we're not seeing the function come on, then we want to check if we've got LIN communications by measuring the voltage. As mentioned earlier, it's very important to use the blue wire as your reference for ground on your meter, and then measure your voltages across the yellow, the white, and the red. We also want to check the battery voltage on the main power connector. It should be between 12.5 to 14 volts. Then we'll want to check the fuse. If we get a beep, we know the fuse is good. You can also use diagnostic mode on the PRPC to determine the issue and check for fault codes. If no fault code is present, you'll want to consult your FlexTech configuration. Expansion board troubleshooting. Expansion board LCOs will automatically shut down if 0.5 amp is exceeded. The relay header has to be plugged in for the expansion board to function. If it's not plugged in, nothing will come out of this module. The expansion board also has LEDs that indicate if a fuse is blown. You can also use diagnostic mode on the PRPC to determine the issue and check for fault codes. If no fault code is present, you'll want to consult your FlexTech configuration. This concludes our FlexTech tutorial. If you have any questions, contact Intermotive Tech Support at 530-823-1048, option 2. Thanks for watching.